your God power. Get everything you ever wanted and live the life of your dreams. The Master's Course. Copyright 2010 by Richard Lee McKim Jr. All rights reserved. Let the quest for knowing begin. If you were to put a blindfold over our computer-generated representation, the holodeck character Rick, he should not be able to see or read. So when the blindfold is applied, sure enough, our computer-generated character cannot see. But is that real? No, it is not. Because since the computer generated everything there is to see, including the book, then the computer doesn't need to see through the fake eyes of the computer generation. It doesn't need the light rays bouncing off the book page to enter the eye and be translated into nerve signals and register an image in the brain. That never really happened in the first place. It was only represented to look and seem that way. If seeing is really done at the energy level, and it is, and the eyes are only for our physical, realistic reality experience, and they are, then he should be able to see anyway, right? If we were only pretending to see with our eyes, and in reality we are seeing at the energy level, then we don't even need our eyes to see, right? But then why is it that when we lose our eyes, we can't see anymore? That is because we have represented a meaning that we can no longer see. And it makes perfect sense that we have an equal and perfectly realistic representation of blindness. If we poked out the eyes of our holodeck character, if the holodeck is going to be realistic, we would expect that he will no longer be able to see. After all, seeing comes from the eyes, and if we no longer have the eyes, it would be realistic to have a result of no longer seeing. And sure enough, since the holodeck is programmed to imitate reality and create a realistic reality, when the character no longer has eyes, he can no longer see. That sure makes us feel comfortable. We like it when things work out in the way we think they should, when reality matches what we think reality is. If our holodeck character was still able to see and read a book anyway, we would shout at the screen, "Hey, that's not real! That's not realistic at all! There is something wrong with that holodeck program because it's not portraying what is real reality." This is because we know that we can only see with our eyes, and when they are covered or lost, we can no longer see anything. Everyone knows that. That is reality, right? That has been the viewpoint and belief of man since the beginning of time. But now, we're beginning to realize that reality is not the all-pervasive, all-encompassing force that we once thought it was. We're not bound by a certain overall reality. With our God power, we are able to create, on purpose, or in some cases by accident, our own amazing realities. Unlike animals, who are bound by a single, mostly rigid reality, we are able to assign meaning and change meaning, thus altering our own individual reality, and everything from small changes to drastic alterations. Number 3, avatars as representations in the virtual world of Second Life. Avatars are representations of people in computer environments. You can't get into the computer yourself because you are flesh and bone, and the world of the computer is made of ones and zeros. So if you want to experience this unique world with all of the interesting experiences that it offers, you will need to recreate yourself in a form that will be able to function in the computer world. Your being, quote unquote being, in the virtual computer world is called an avatar. Even though you have recreated yourself in this virtual world, you still exist in your flesh and bone world simultaneously. In other words, you live in and exist in both world environments at the same time. However, your flesh and bone world is in control of your representation and expression in the virtual world of ones and zeros. While you are still flesh and bone in experiencing this world, for the time that you are on the computer, you are focused on your experience in the virtual world. This avatar being is made of the same stuff that everything in the computer world is made of. By expressing yourself as an avatar, you can function and have all the virtual world experiences that you could never have in your flesh and bone world. In this special computer world, you can see other avatars, buildings, rivers, bunny rabbits, and anything else you can imagine. While these things all seem separate and independent, they are all made of the same things, pixels and ones and zeros. You, as your avatar, are generated and exist in this world in exactly the same way as a tree or a building does. The only difference is the tree's meaning and definition is that it is stationary and doesn't move around like you do. And the building is also stationary, but it is represented that it is made of bricks and cement. This makes a wonderful analogy of your representation in this physical world here on Earth. Like the virtual world, in your flesh and bone world, you are made of the same things that everything else in this world is made of. You're made of atoms of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and various other atoms are arranged into molecules and eventually creating the flesh and bone structure that you know is your body. Buildings and trees are made of the same things as you, but just have different meanings and designs. Every world or universe has its particular makeup, and everything in that world or universe is made of the same uniform building blocks in the same way, which is the format of that experience. If you want to have a virtual world experience, you have to represent yourself in the format of that world for that experience, which is ones and zeros and pixels, if you will. When you wanted to have an experience in this physical world, you had to represent yourself in the format of this physical world, which is atoms and molecules. You cannot have an experience in any particular world environment without representing yourself in the format of that world. While you are representing yourself as pixels in the virtual world, you are still physical in this world. In the same way that you are representing yourself in this physical world of atoms and molecules, you are still a non-physical being in the energy world.
To continue, go to How to Use Your God Power, chapter number 10, segment number 4. Let your quest for knowing continue.